Um, yeah, so that link needs to change a little bit. Because that's using the old login. It should be using the SSO link.
I thought I had it going to the SSO link.
Yeah. Yeah, so go to banner test.
It's not under this.
No, go up to banner test right there.
Uh-huh.
And then go down to WebStar, cloned instances right there.
Okay.
And then that upgrade 9 SSO.
Okay.
Yeah. So that link is what you'll need to use in those as part of those configurations.
So that's still in there.
Well,
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Come back over to admin pages.
Yeah, so that link goes through the SSO manager.
Yeah, I must have linked out to the one that was not through SSO using pins. So let me get that corrected real quick while I'm looking at it, or I'll forget to. Okay. Schedule planner. To be the same link.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that. Coming out of the profile, it was taking me straight to this is what it was doing. So may have to take a look at, I have to take a look and see why that's not picking up the same way off that landing page.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but out of the profile, it's linking straight to it. So I imagine you're going to want to keep, you're going to keep using College Scheduler, and so I left that link here just in case. You have another page that says View Holds, and there's a couple places that lives in Banner 9 now, in Banner 9 Self-Service. They can view it in either on the profile, or they can view it in Banner 9 registration. And so what I did with this one is I pointed it to Banner 9 registration.
Okay.
And I'll show you what that looks like. So I'll select this as a student. They can go to prepare for registration.
So just for the rest of you guys know that registration is a separate module or a separate application within Banner 9 Self-Service. So, yeah.
Yeah, so this is the same, sort of what you're used to seeing in 8, where it has, you have holds on your account, your time status, or your student status prohibits registration, your academic status prohibits registration. You have holds, all of that stuff. You can see it here in registration status and registration, and you also can see it in the profile. So we'll start looking at that here in just a little bit when we start talking about how we need to configure those things. So this is where we're at for now. Let me jump back over here to our landing page. Okay, this view priority registration schedule, that one seemed pretty important to me as well. So this just links out to that schedule. Do you use time controls or do you use registration groups? Safari GTC or Safari Group?
Safari GTC.
Okay. So I think you have something custom with that as well that shows students what time they can register when it opens up for them specifically. In baseline, it won't display that. If you don't have a registration group, it's not going to tell, baseline is not going to tell them what's configured in Safari GTC. So that's something to keep in mind when you're rolling 9 out. displaying that information to them. If you're not using groups, you're not going to be able to do it within, the baseline applications. So that's something to look out for.
Huh.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer.
Okay.
All right. So the next page I've linked out to here is final grades. I kind of want to just show you what this looks like. I don't have any grades because I'm on this guest account, but they can select their term, they can select their level, and then that will let them view all of their final grades. And it looks nice. It looks pretty nice. Unofficial academic transcript. This is what this looks like. It looks very similar to what you have in 8. You're able to see any academic history you have, any transfer work you've articulated. All of that would show up here. Your courses in progress are showing. There's multiple tabs across the top here. So like once the transcript starts getting a little bigger, like if I had a bunch of academic history, it's easy to navigate just by clicking on the tabs. But this is what the unofficial academic transcript looks like in 9. Got some AR stuff here. So you've got account summary by term. If I had any charges or anything like that, this would show, all of my charges that I had for the term. I can also elect to pay now and use the gateway depending on who you use, if it's Nelnet or whoever you use, CashNet. You can allow them to direct them here and allow them to pay their account straight out off this page. So, these were links that you had inside of 8, so I wanted to make sure that you had them here in 9. Account summary. This shows my complete balance, how much I have due. So it looks like from my prior term, I owe $313. And I can go in and pay here. You can print this out to save it as PDF. Do whatever you need to do with it. You had a couple links out to the catalog and to the class schedule. These move now. These live within registration, the application, which is totally separate. And so this is linking straight to the registration module. And if I wanted to look at catalog records, it looks like a lot of these are turned off in SOA term. But if I wanted to look at some catalog records, I can go in here and I can do searches by subject code. I can search, by course number 100. I can do advanced searches, search by a keyword, by attributes, and all of this, and we'll touch on this here in a bit when we start looking at registration and configuration. All of this is done in SOA Whisker, SOAWSCR. So you can tell Banner to hide some of these things so that, if you don't want them to be able to search by, college, you may not have a need for that. So you can turn that filter off. You can also customize the text here that people are searching by. So like one example is a schedule type. Some people call it something besides schedule type. So you could, if you didn't like schedule type, want to name it section type or whatever your verbiage at your institution is, you can go in and customize all that. So that's the catalog link. Yep, it's something you can do in admin pages. So usually a functional user would go in. Typically the functional user would go into SOA Whisker and make the changes. And I've got a little spreadsheet that I'll share with you that I found on eCommunities, and it's been really helpful for me. It takes a screenshot of each one of the self-service 9 registration pages, and it tells you what page number it is. Because when you're configuring SOA Whisker, you have to put in the page number, and it's like, okay, there's 40 of them in here. Which one is 30? And so this little spreadsheet I'll share with you will highlight that. It'll give you a screenshot so you know exactly which page that you're updating.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier to update. So class schedule, this is another thing, that you're used to probably calling schedule of classes. And this also now lives in registration. So looks like you've got the class schedule turned on for a lot of terms. So we'll just come through here and I'll just do a search for something. We'll search for all courses to start with a course number of 1. You notice I use a wildcard there. You can, in the searches, you can use wildcards in a very similar way that you do in admin pages now. So I put 1%, and this gives me all the courses that start with a 1. So this is what your public schedule of classes is going to look like now. You can configure what displays here. Also in Solo Whisker, right now you have everything turned on. So, there's some things that you might want to show that you can't. So, what you see here is pretty much what you got. You can scroll over these things and view details about the class itself. You can look at the attributes, any restrictions that you have in place, instructor, all of this you can look at and see. Do you use saw text?
Yes.
So here's a bit of a bummer here. If you've put something in for saw text, and then you go to the class schedule and you go search for course description, instead of showing the course description, out of Scott Edel, which is what you would expect it to do, if you've got a text line, it substitutes it. It takes the course description out and displays the text line. So, that can be a big problem. And basically what it forces you to do, if you use text lines extensively, a lot of people use them for textbook links. And so like every single section's got one. And so when people go to course description, all they see is the textbook link. So if you use them a lot, you may encounter this problem. And what you'll have to tell folks to do is if they want to see the course description, they're going to have to go search the catalog and look for it there. It's a known defect. Well, I think it's a defect. It hadn't really been called a defect, but there is an article out there on the e-communities that, a lot of people are following about this issue. So I'd recommend looking into that if you get some time. So
That's not.
yeah, it's kind of a problem because a lot of times people put very important information in the text line, but then they also want the course description to show. One school I was working with, they ended up copying what was in the course description and including it in the text line so that it would show up.
Wow.
In addition to what they put in the text line. So like if you're in self-service 8 and you drill into the class, like you click on the CRN and then click on the class. Exactly. Yep. So it's gone. Yeah.
We're using it now, saw text, for the linked courses. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
What's
an example of one of those? Do you have an example of one we could look at? Okay. This one? Okay. And you got something in saw text for that one?
Yeah. Whether we did or not, I can't tell you, but
Yeah, it could be this data's old. I don't know. Yeah, but it doesn't say anything's linked, but you're exactly right. This does give you a place where you can look and say this is what the class is linked with here.
Mm.
Yep, so you may be able to stop doing the text line if that's all you're using it for. And the school I was working with that used text line for bookstore links. There's an easy way to configure the bookstore links as well in Banner. So you do all that for bookstore links. You do that in GUIConf, and you just kind of go into the SSS application and the StuReg application, and you sort of figure out the syntax of the URL that your bookstore uses, and then you just put the URL in there and it works. So there is functionality in here for that.
Okay.
It's kind of, GUIConf in general is kind of finicky, and the textbook link is even more so. It's almost like using extensibility when you're editing extensions, how you have those brackets you have to worry about. You have a very similar experience with that. Got an example I'll put in the chat in case you need it. Throw this in the chat real quick.
Into that text field. Context.
SciText.
Yep, that's unfortunately the best workaround for now. They haven't said when they're going to fix it, but I think that they've addressed that it is an issue. A lot of schools are, not happy about it. Do you use HTML in any of your coding in Banner right now at all? For like course descriptions or text lines, you put a hyperlink in there or anything of that nature?
Not that I know of.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that because it doesn't render in 9. So a lot of folks would put like in Safari message on the error messages. A lot of folks will put hyperlink in there, send them to some other page, and it doesn't pick up the HTML, doesn't render the HTML. So it just shows the ahref equals and all that. So I know I'm talking a lot about the limitations.
No, but that's good. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's some of these are really important to know. I mean, there's some gaps obviously with it, but for the most part, it's working well now. All right. Any questions so far about any of what we've covered?
Maybe just show them the student profile
Okay.
at some point.
Okay. Yeah, we'll look at that right after look through these custom links. So I noticed you had an external parking permit link. You had a link.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the parking thing may change because Credentials got bought out by Parchment, and apparently Credentials has sold off their parking. So that's probably going to change pretty quick. So anyway, yep.
I knew that they, Parchment and Credentials, they had merged. I didn't know that they were getting rid of the parking piece. That's learn something every day.
Yeah, that's kind of a mess right now.
That sounds like it.
It is. Yep.
So then order official transcript. I think this went to, I've got this going to the Banner one, but I noticed that you had one for Clearinghouse. Do you do your transcripts through Clearinghouse?
No, our transcripts goes through Credentials.
Oh, it's Credentials. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So
I need to change this link then to go to the Credentials link.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I will make sure I do that.
Yeah, the credit card payment that currently runs through our Banner 8 self-service server, and that's through official payments, which is now ACI Worldwide, and that's going to be moving to TouchNet
Okay.
before too long, hopefully.
Okay. So hang tight on anything with that link.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
You had an open CCC apply link.
Yep.
I found that interesting that it was on the student tab. I don't know if you got it like everywhere or not.
Oh yeah, we did.
Okay. You had an apply to EOPS and check your EOPS status. So I included that. And then you had this Title IV withdrawal link that I also replicated.
Oh, okay. Good. Good.
So in terms of what the student is seeing on the landing page, besides financial aid missing from here, and I knew when I deleted it, I was like, never going to want that. But I'll add it back. Besides that piece, are there other important items that you think should be on this landing page?
No, I think that's
Okay.
pretty close.
All right.
Are we going to be able to make any additions? I know he talked about the registration and, how we're going from Safargacy and everything else, but the registration times for the students, I mean, is that something that we'd be able to add to the page, or we're limited? What you see is what you get, period.
So in terms of like embedding something on this page that would show them the time, what you see is what you get. There's no like functionality in here that would let you pull data out of Banner and display it on this page. Now, if you got something custom built already that shows the Safari GTC stuff, and you wanted to continue using Safari GTC and not use groups, you could, replicate what you built in Apex or whatever you built it in, and put it into Page Builder.
We do have a custom, I think Omar built, that shows the time for registration. Is that right, David?
That's correct.
Yeah, so I think we'll continue probably using that for the foreseeable future. Yeah, so it goes out. So so this is a custom.
Okay.
Page.
That looks really nice.
Yep. So to the rest of the group, there's still some branding that needs to be done on the student page. Also, because the registration is a separate module, the registration functionality itself will probably come later, because there are a little bit of complications in California. That Batea page that a lot of schools have doesn't work quite the same in Banner 9 self-service. So, and that's creating a little bit of a headache. I know that Elution is wanting everybody to use action item processing for that. And we'll see how it goes. But all right.
Yeah, that's a good point about the TIA survey.
Yeah.
And action item processing, it's part of 9 as well. It works alongside BCM and pretty much allows you to, select a population and post an action item which can prevent registration. It's pretty much the main purpose of it right now. At some point in the future, they plan on allowing action items to prevent other self-service pages from being accessed and viewed. But right now, it will just halt the registration piece. And by halting, what it really does is it makes it so you can't access the registration page as a student at all. It'll redirect you to the action item where you have to, fill out the VATIA survey. I think some people have already started if they haven't already completed it, Jeff built like page builder templates for Batia.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because that's the only way you're going to be able to get them to answer the questions within the action item is to have that custom template, built. So
Yeah.
that's pretty complicated.
Yeah, and some schools have talked about how it's not easy to navigate back between self-service and the action item
Yeah, they
screen.
I 100% agree. And the way the groups display and stuff too causes a lot of confusion. Like if you post multiple action items that are in multiple groups, the bottom groups are collapsed, and so you can't see them whenever you land on the page. You got to go click on them, and it's really not intuitive at all. So I agree 100% that it's clunky at best.
All right.
Profile?
Yeah. Yep.
All right, so let's take a look at the profile. And so there's two different uses for the profile. There's one where a student is going and looking at their own profile, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm guest one secure, and I'm looking at my information. There's another use where counselors, faculty advisors, you can set it up so they can go view information for a student. And so we'll talk about both of those and how they work. So you can see this is the student profile. So this is sort of seen as like a landing page for all of the basic information for a student. So they can go and they can see, their email, their phone, their gender, date of birth, ethnicity, race, citizenship, all this stuff they can see here. And so a lot of schools really don't want to display a lot of this information. There's some of it they want to hide, not only to the student, but more specifically to an advisor looking at it. For example, does an advisor really need to see the citizen or citizenship status? Do they need to see the date of birth? Do you use graduation applications? Online graduation applications. So there's things that, this is out of the box. There's things that you probably don't want to display to students or to advisors. And so all of this is also configurable within GUAConf. And you basically go in, and let's say that I wanted to turn off citizenship from being visible for anyone. Let me jump in here, get this reloaded, and I'll show you what that would look like. Actually, already got a session going. So I'm going to go into GUAConf, and I'm going to hide citizenship from everybody. So I'm going to do configurations, filter, and then I'm going to do search like this. Okay. So each one of the values in the profile here, every one of these data elements, data fields, and links over here on the left have some entry inside of GUAConf that you can control either how it displays or if it displays at all. So this is this specific citizenship data field. And the way GUAConf's got it set up right now, it's saying display it to everybody. So if I wanted to display it to nobody, I just delete out all the roles and then give it a couple minutes and that citizenship would no longer appear. So one of the things I usually do with clients when we're working on configuring self-service 9 is I'll sit down with the functional users and we'll talk about, what do you want to display, what do you not want to display, and what do you want to link out to over here on the left. So do you have any initial thoughts on what you're seeing here? We're looking at it from a student logging in and looking at their own information.
So then if they want to update that information right now, they would contact A&R. Is that correct, David?
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay.
I don't And that's a discussion on what's viewable, what's not. You know, that's a discussion to be had. I mean, I tend to give the information to the student, but I don't make all the calls.
Right.
Yeah, so what you may want to think about doing before you roll this out in production is maybe have some sort of, if you have like a data governance committee or something that's out there, you may want to sit down with them and kind of talk over all of this stuff, because some of it's pretty sensitive information. So. Unfortunately, in almost all of their self-service 9 pages, they don't give you the option to put like information text up at the top like you could in 8 with WebTailor. Yeah, it is a huge oversight, and it really needs to be fixed. There's so many different self-service pages that, the information text that you put in 8 have to be, it has to be seen by someone looking at it. Graduation applications, a really good example. There's very important, information on the top of each one of them screens you need to be able to put in. And the only way I've found to do it, and it's not good at all to do it, but you can do it with Theme Editor, editing the SCSS file. But what it can do is it can mess up the auto resizing if you have too much text. So it's just not a good solution. It's pretty much hacking it. But some things you have to put up there. But no, they haven't given us that option yet.
We can limit this so to basically specific employees and the students.
It goes by their role. So over here in GUA-Conf,
Yeah.
undo this here. So I'll just remove my filter. So there are different roles, so if they have an advisor checkbox checked in science, or if they've been given an override indicator of their faculty and their advisor, if they're students, if they've got an active SCASN record, if the faculty box is checked, so all of the different roles that work the same way in 8, this is how you can determine, which role can see what. So, a lot of times I'll see a lot of settings that just have the student role, because you only want the student to be able to see that piece. So if I would have just left student here for citizenship, then when I look at this as a student, I would see it. But if I went to go look at a student's record as an advisor, I would not see it.
My next question isn't necessarily for you, Jacob. Is this something that we're looking at as a possible replacement for our SIOS?
Well, I thought about it, but the SIOS gives so much more information.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, because I don't see that many people actually using this as long as we have the SIOS. That's the reason I was asking.
Right. Right.
Pretty much
Yes.
The only custom thing you could add is something over here on addition. You can add as many additional links as you want. So if you wanted to put some information, you could put something here, but it needs to be a link going out somewhere.
Yeah. So for Jacob's, for Jacob's information, we have a report that we call SIOS profile that pulls up a slew of information about a student. And that's what the counselors use 100 times a day. So.
And it probably pulls from a lot of other systems besides Banner.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. So I think ideally this would replace it, but I don't think it will at this point.
Yeah, if it's pulling from, third-party systems outside of Banner, it's already better than what the profile is.
Yeah.
There are some cool things, with the profile. I mentioned earlier, the registration notices. So that same place I went to in registration earlier that showed, can I register or what have you, displays here. And if some schools, they require advising for certain populations of students, and they do that by using a hold. I don't know if you do that or not, but one really neat thing, my favorite thing about the profile is that if you do that, then you can set up a system where advisors can release only that type of hold right out of the profile. So if I had a hold on me that said, advising assignment or advising appointment required, and I'm the advisor sitting down with the student, I could release the hold right as they've sat down with me. And so it's a pretty nice piece of functionality if you're doing something like that already. It makes things a little easier. Some other schools will use pins and stuff. You're probably using pins since you're using Safari GTC. But it is nice. If I had a hold I could release, it would show up here and it would give me a little release button, and I can love it. So it's pretty nifty. I mentioned earlier that you can link out to other places. So I added this schedule planner link. This thing's just not liking me right now. Try that again. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. It worked like a charm last time I tried it. But this, would link them out to College Scheduler. And then I linked out to DegreeWorks too. I don't have permission to it, but this will link you straight to DegreeWorks. And you can also configure the link in a way that passes in the student ID into DegreeWorks. So like if a counselor is, looking at a specific student and they click on this, it'll take them into DegreeWorks and also automatically pull up the information for that student within DegreeWorks. There's a few things you can do on that front. So yeah, this is the profile. There's some quirks about it. The way this is laid out, you're either looking at curriculum over here or you're looking at prior education and testing, and it's kind of not very clear that you have to click on this to do it. But this pulls straight out of SOA Test and SOA High School and Power College.
Very good.
Okay. Any questions about the profile or about any of the student self-service pieces?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of work we need to do there to get that in shape, if our desire is to use it. So
The profile?
yeah,
I agree.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and a part of the debate, and I know other schools deal with this too, is some schools use a combination of their Banner 8 self-service and link out to Banner 9 applications and kind of blend those two. Some schools have actually used that student profile as their landing page for students. And then they link out from it. So, and then I'm thinking maybe I will do a custom page and link out. I don't know. So that's a whole ball of wax we'll need to try and figure out.
Yeah, I think if you could, I would, if it were me, I would build that custom page just to help with the change, because the navigation is that one that the article I showed you, it pretty much replicates identically what 8 looks like. It just looks a little better, and so like you're going to cut down on a lot of questions if you go that route. But you're exactly right. Most schools that are rolling out Banner 9 are piecemeal rolling it out. And so they're going into Web Tailor. People are still going into 8 self-service, and then they're linking out to faculty grade entry 9 right out of 8. So you're right. And I have seen schools too that are putting it in the profile, like you said, and there's like 15, 20 links to the left side. And
Yeah.
the big problem is that this navigation here is just not,
Yeah, it's not that intuitive.
it's not. That's
And-
the big.
Yeah, and a part of the problem is getting back from 8 to 9. Once a person has navigated in, back into to Banner 8, it's getting back to Banner 9.
Yep.
Kind of thing. So, yeah, that's something we'll have to figure out. So.
Sure. All right, well, let's take a look at registration then and what it looks like and how you can configure it. So I haven't made any configurations at all to registration. So what you see here is, out of the box, what you get. So, there's a few different things we've kind of already talked about and looked at. The prepare for registration piece, this, just lets them see their registration information. There's also a tab here that you're going to want to probably disable. So this is sort of like a, I don't know how to say this nicely, but I'm trying my best. A very vanilla way for students to update their major. But they have to have registration for the term to update it. It doesn't manage multiple programs or curriculum. It is extremely limited. And so every school that I have worked with on this has disabled this tab. And you can do that in Google Conf. You probably will want to look at doing that. Do you have a change of program process right now?
Yes.
Digital online already? Cool. Cool. I would recommend sticking with that. Yeah. Unless you want your students going in here updating things that may or may not even be updated properly.
No, because they'll try to update it 10 times a day.
Yep. It's problem. Mm-hmm. Yeah, almost every school that I've worked with says the exact same thing. So they made it easy enough to disable, so that's good.
Good.
Okay. So that's that first piece, which shows the status and all of that. This is where they actually go to register, and we'll look at it in just a second. Plan ahead. So, are you a degree work? Yeah, you're a degree work school. Do you use degree works plans at your school?
Yes, we do.
So you'll probably, I don't want to speak for you because I may be wrong here. Could be making a lot of assumptions, but you'll probably want to keep using the degree works plans, especially if you've already rolled that out. And so what you can do here is you can allow the degree works planner to integrate with 9. It's pretty easy to do. You might have already looked at it and already set it up. If you haven't, I've got some documentation that I'd be more than happy to share with you. And it allows them to pull over plans from DegreeWorks. And so for most of the schools I work with that use DegreeWorks Planner, they don't want students to go build a self-service 9 plan because they've already built a plan in DegreeWorks and they don't want to confuse them, having 2 different plans in 2 different places. So you can turn off the ability to create a self-service plan, and you can even hide this get back over here. You can even hide this icon altogether. This is in page 1000 in Solo Whiskers. You can just turn this off, And then you can instruct them to whenever they're, if they want to register from their plan, they can go to register for classes. And if you've got the integration set up, there will be an additional tab that displays over here. Cue the Jeopardy music. It'll display right here and it says DegreeWorks plan. And then they can go in there and look at the DegreeWorks plan and they can search for classes to register for off of their plan. And so, you know, if you're gonna use that and you're gonna keep using DegreeWorks and you want to keep pointing folks to DegreeWorks to build their plans, that's the simplest setup that I've found. So something to think about. Browse classes and browse course catalog. We just looked at those a moment ago. You know, these are replacing the public schedule of classes that you have seen in 8. View registration information. This will let you view prior any class that you've had a grade for, or any classes that you're registered for. Just let you just see, you know, what your schedule looked like in the past or current. Okay, so let's get to the part of the functionality, which is the register for classes portion. All right, so this is what Banner 9 registration, you know, looks like. This is the main thing students are going to see. If they want to go search for classes to add, they can do that here. They're able to go in, search by subject course keyword. You can configure what shows here. This is page 10 in Solo Whisker. So let me jump over there. So refresh. Okay, so the way that this page works is you build rules for each persona that accesses registration. And so if I'm not logged in, then my persona is the web user anonymous. And so if I wanted to only show, for example, you know, register for classes of that persona, I would go in and I'd set up a rule for a web user. But in this example, we're going to be looking at the student persona because I'm logged in as a student and this is what I want to see. So I'm looking at the student persona and now I'm looking at the different pages. And so this is where I was kind of talking about how it's, you know, it's numbered. The descriptions, you know, tell you a little bit, but that little spreadsheet I've got really helps figure out which ones are which. So let's just take a look very simply at the very first page, which is the class search page. You'll notice there's effective terms on these. I generally don't like having to navigate through effective terms for web display rules for registration. So what I usually recommend to folks is use all zeros. And then whenever you want to change something, go back and change it. Because I've not come across a use case yet where something needed to be displayed one way in fall and another way in spring. But if you do have that case, they do give you the functionality to do it if you needed to. But this is the way, just keeps it easy to manage. You know, you can turn it on or off, you know, right off the bat by going to all zeros. So we're going to look at 10. And so jump back over here to registration. So I got subject, course number, keyword. And see 1, 2, 3 are displayed. And then this is the baseline display text. So if I wanted to change something in the way this displays, let's say I also want to allow them to search by attribute. I can go in, I can customize the text to subject code instead of subject, and then I can turn attributes on. Sometimes this takes a minute to pull. We'll give it a minute, and then we'll come back and look at it in a bit. So you can customize all of this. You can also do the same to the advanced search, customize all of that, and all that's done in Solo Whisker. You can, just like you can in 8, you can also add from CRNs directly. You know, put them in there and register from them directly. And then you have the schedule and options page. Now, do y'all have variable hour courses?
Not specifically as defined by Banner. No, we'd not.
No, not anymore.
Okay, that's a good thing. Because there's another little limitation in the way that variable hour courses are updated. I built one in your instance just because I couldn't find one, and I wanted to make sure, just in case you did have them, that you got to see what it looked like. But you know, you would think that, you know, you could come in here and like update the hours, you know, for a variable hour course, but you can't. You have to go to schedule and options, and you see how that's hyperlinked. You can come in here and then change it, and then you have to hit submit. So I've worked with a lot of schools where that was very confusing for students. It's kind of hard to get to, and it's kind of hard to figure out, and it's not intuitive. But it's good that you don't have them, so you don't have to worry about that. So when the students go on this landing page, they're able to go and select an action if there's one available. I guess I'm so late in the term that none of the calculated drop codes are appearing. They're probably all passed, so I can't take any actions. But you know, if this were earlier on in the term, you know, I would see same thing I would in 8. You know, whatever you got built in SF8 drop, you know, ought to populate in here. And so that's how they navigate their schedule. They can drop things here. Another thing to look out for, I'm not sure since registration's almost passed, it's probably, I'm not going to be able to demonstrate, what it looks like to add a course. But there's a 2-step process for adding a course if you're searching here, and even if you're entering CRNs. So, you know, just pretend I can do this. All right, I clicked it, it moved it down here to my summary. If they don't hit submit after hitting add, it will not, you know, it won't put it on the record. It won't go on their registration. So a lot of times students kind of forget to do that extra step, and they think that they registered and they didn't. They just put it in their summary, which they have to then submit. So a couple quirks to look for. They have these panels that you can kind of, you know, do some re-navigating with here. I'm not sure, you know, haven't seen frames on the website in a long time, but you know, you can move things around. Tuition and fees. If I had some, this will show up here. There's no pay now, which would be nice, but I can at least see what I owe. So that's registration.
So do students drop from here also, or do
Yep.
they drop? Yeah.
Yep, they drop. They would go to register for classes. They would come here, and then they'd go to this action box. And you know, I think the dates have passed for me to do anything, so it's not showing me anything. But you know, if I was within the last day to drop with the W or census before census date or whatever, I could take an action based off that date. And then they just have to click the action and then click submit, and then that'll perform the operation.
And that those drop codes are the same as Banner 8 self-service?
Yep. Nothing will change. It'll pick up calculated drop same way that it did in 8.
Oh, good. So for Banner 9, the wait list hasn't changed, right? That's how it is. I mean, it's how it works in baseline.
As far as like the functionality goes, no,
Yeah.
it hasn't. Yeah, it hasn't
Okay.
changed.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we have folks on campus who wants to change the way waitlist works.
They want to auto-register them?
Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know of schools that do that?
In California, I don't. Let me think about that, actually. Because I remember working with a school that was talking about doing it, and I don't think they did. Yeah, California, I don't. The institution I used to work at, University of Alabama, we did, and we loved it. We absolutely loved it. We didn't have to worry about notifications or any of that stuff. It would just move them right on in. But we had like a custom process that, we modified the wait list notification piece to, instead of sending and, telling it to send emails, call in the SFK edit X's SFK MReg package and, registering them automatically. We liked it.
How was it difficult to keep it maintained?
I was such a newbie, such a noob back then that I wasn't involved in like the coding of it or anything like that.
Okay.
So I couldn't tell you.
All right. Okay, thanks. All
I
right.
remember, there were some things that we did have to like look out for with link classes, link lecture labs. We just didn't allow wait lists on them. We reached a point because we had to work those were the only ones we had to work manually because of, I don't know, just it's hard to figure out, who if they registered for the lab, waitlisted for the lecture, who got in there first. Was it based off the time they waitlisted for the lab or based off the time they waitlisted for the lecture? Stuff like that. So we just we said you can't, if you have link classes, you can't waitlist.
Jacob, do instructors have the ability, instructors or advisors have the ability to add students to classes?
You can. You can make it so that they can add it. The registrar persona can do it. So if you gave them the registrar persona, they could do it. If they know the student's PIN, they can also do it.
So in Banner 8, we use something called add auth codes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the PIN is the determining factor on why they can't do it right now. So if it carries over into 9, then that we're still in the same situation. I just wanted to see whether or not that was an option or not.
Yeah, you could give them the registrar persona. I don't know if I'd recommend that or not because they can go in there and do about anything then. It's basically like giving them Safari eggs. Pretty close to it anyway. So they can't backdate stuff, but yeah, you can set it up that way. And then the others, they do have to have that PIN, which is pretty much makes it.
La 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 la. I can't hear you. La 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 la.
Yeah, that's like who would actually like think that was a good business practice, but I don't know.
So today in Banner 8, faculty require a PIN to add a student. Is that right? Okay. All right.
Okay. There's registration. Any other thoughts on it?
Well, just to let everybody know, I think the registration is going to take a little bit longer to get that in place than some of the other pieces. Because we'll probably roll out the applications not all at the same time, but I don't know. Have to think. No, I have to think about that. But
from what I've experienced with other schools, I think slowly rolling it out is going to keep your sanity a little more than doing it all at once.
Yeah,
especially registration. You can see it. It's totally different. So,
before we leave today, I'd love to be able to see what the faculty will see along with financial aid.
Okay. Yep, I've got the faculty set up too, and faculty is my favorite of the modules.
We are so unalike. I hate faculty.
Well, it's in terms of like pain and suffering of rollout. It would be at the bottom of the list. So, I mean, I think it's like the easiest one to roll out. You know, you don't really lose a lot of functionality with any of the faculty modules. In fact, you gain functionality in a lot of places that I like. So this is how I've got your faculty services set up. And, you know, there's a lot of Banner 9 modules that I took out of here, you know, because they weren't in your 8. So there's a bunch more stuff that faculty can do in 9, but I kept it to the ones you currently have to kind of, you know, mirror what your current business practices are. So let's start here with roster selection menu. All right, so I want to go look at my roster. I go to roster selection. I click on the roster, the course itself. And this shows me all of my students. You'll notice there's 2 different tabs here. There's one for waitlist. So if I had waitlisting enabled and I had students on my wait list for this class, I would see who is waitlisted, and if I elect to, I could see what priority they are, what number they are on the wait list. So I like that. I like how it puts it in the same place.
So can the faculty take students off of the wait list and enroll them? Or is that the question that was earlier about the pen?
Yeah, they cannot do that. Yeah,
Okay.
they can't move them off there.
Okay.
Yeah, and register them. So there's a couple. Mm-hmm. And so there's a couple things you can do that. You can just either train the faculty to say, you know, if you don't want to see it, take it off. That's sort of a rudimentary solution. But you could also do something with extensibility. So you could edit some extensions here. And to do this, you know, you would want to inspect the element that I just turned off. So you'd want to inspect the element here. And then do some digging. And let's see if I can find this thing. Class is data. That ain't what I'm looking for. Where's the XE? Where is it? I am, yep. Okay. So did I just miss it? I would expect it to say class or something, because here's credit hours. There's the midterm grade. So midterm grade, class is going to be a little bit higher. Here's the final grade. There's class right there. So there's some code. Let me see if I can pull this little snippet of code up. I might be able to do it right here. Get this trip report I sent out yesterday. Okay. Here we go. All right. All right, so I got to figure out which section this is in first. So it's going to be class description. What section are we in? I don't want to bore you looking at this. Class list table is the section. Class list, is that capital? Yep. Table. And then it was class description. Okay. All right, let's give this a shot. This is a real tedious exercise, but put in this no whammies. Get rid of this. Maybe it's not liking that. So you can get the idea here. I'd have to probably fiddle with it for a little bit to figure this out. But you can tell it, okay, in this section, I want you to exclude this specific field. And if you do this in extensions editor, so you have to have web tailor admin, you can hide things. You can reorder the way that they display in terms of, like, if you wanted to move student ID over here, you could reorder it based off code you put in here using the next parent, next sibling functions. It's Java stuff. So you can do all that stuff here in extensions editor. And then once I didn't break it, once you submit, it should automatically like display on the page. And I've got an example in a minute. I'll show you that where I did this for faculty grade entry, and it hit a couple things. So I'll be able to give you a little bit better of a demonstration on it in a moment. But if you dig through a little bit, and you can figure out how to hide things. And then once you submit it, it's hidden for everybody that accesses that page. So you do a good bit with extension editor, and it should stay even after you upgrade. It should stay after server reboots. It should stay. It's not like a mod you should have to reapply every time. Okay. So this is the class list. They can export their rosters and print them from here. So you might be able to get rid of some of your old custom 8 pages for that. Even though I bet you probably have a lot more information on those printable rosters that you customize. Yeah, I bet you've got a lot more stuff on those.
Jacob, can you click on one of the students' hyperlinks?
Mm-hmm. This will take them to the profile.
Let's say it's not available.
Yeah, we don't want to see that, do we?
All right.
I wonder if this is the wrong server.
No, that looks right. I'm not sure.
443, 444. No.
Oh.
Yeah, that should work. This one, 444. Huh. I need to look into that.
Yeah, take out that SSB out of the,
Here?
yeah. No?
Mm-mm.
Huh.
And it's even like, passing in the right information here too. So I'm gonna have to troubleshoot that. There's a configuration in Google Conf that tells it what the profile URL is, and I think that's already there, and it looks right to me. So I don't know what's going on there. You can see that if you hover over, it's not really displaying any information on the student. So depending on how you want to set up your security and what faculty can see and what they can't see about the student, you may not want it to link to the profile at all. You may, I don't know if you want the faculty members to have, and they may not have that access depending on how you have, SOAFAX set up. You may only want counselors to be able to view the student profile. So you can configure what shows up in this display box in Google Conf, and it's called the student pop-up card is what it's called. And so you can tell it, I want you to display the photo. I want you to display the student's major. I want you to display the student's name. Or you can say, I don't want you to display anything. And you can turn the pop-up card all the way off And then, then if they went to click on the name, it would try to direct them to the profile. And if you didn't want them to have access to the profile, you could have their solo facts turned off so they can't view profile just for faculty. And then they'd get a "you're not authorized" error. So it depends on how you want to do it. You may not care, and you may want faculty to be able to go in and look at the profile. But if you do, then I need to figure out what's going on with that link, because that looks good to me. So it's just a choice you'll have to make on what you want faculty to be able to see.
Okay.
Okay, so that's class list. Here's the detailed schedule. This lets me look and see, all the basic information about my class. You can see it gives them abilities to add syllabus, add office hours. So if you want to turn this stuff off, so you don't want them to be able to go in and add their office hours or whatever, you can use extensibility and you can turn that off completely too. Week at a glance is exactly what the week at a glance was in 8. I don't have any classes that are meeting. I think the class I'm teaching this fall's online. But it lets you see in a grid what your week's going to look like. Faculty grade entry. So I've got a tab hidden here. It's called the grade book tab. And that's done by doing this extensions editor and turning off the grade book. Grade book is something that is like a different piece of functionality that I've never seen a single client use, and so most people elect to hide that so it doesn't confuse faculty members. So this is what faculty grade entry looks like. They can see if their course is in progress, if any of the grades have rolled. They're able to go in and submit grades. Do last attendance dates, number of hours attended, all of that they can do here. They can also, if you have a very large class and they are grading them in Canvas or Blackboard, whatever you're using, they can import. If I have a CSV file or Excel file from Blackboard that have every one of these IDs, they can import it. They just have to have the ID, the final grade, the CRN in the spreadsheet, and they can pull in straight off of an Excel spreadsheet, which is pretty nice. They can export it for whatever reason they wanted to export the grades after they submitted them and print them or do whatever they want with them. They can do that too. I found that faculty like this. Some of them get confused by what rolled means, because most people don't, know the concept of rolled grades and what difference that makes and how you can't change the grade after it's rolled. So some people like to hide that. But I think educating faculty on, the idea that you can't change the grade after it's rolled without some, other process is important.
Been trying to do that for 20 years.
Yep, that's a full-time job.
So do all the grades have to be entered before they can submit it?
They do not, and that's one super nice thing about this. They can submit just a couple of them at a time. And in 8, if you submit a bunch of them and then for whatever reason, like you make a mistake and there's an error on one of your entries, how none of them would submit successfully. And in this, all of the ones that can successfully submit will submit, and the one that was erroneous will not submit.
And there are special rules where if you fail a class, you have to include a last attendance date. Is that built in? Is that logic built in here?
Yep, as long as that grade is still required, as long as it requires a last date of attendance. I guess an F is what y'all got for that. It's a different grade.
Okay.
Yeah, it should give you a last date of attendance required if it's required for that grade.
Where would we set it up if it
Shaw
isn't set up
grade.
now?
Yeah, Shaw grade. Let's take a look at it. Oops, I keep forgetting that redirects me. Test.
But this is only for banner 9, right? Or is this banner 8 as well?
This is for both.
Oh, both?
Okay,
Okay.
there it was. Last grade attendance required. Saw it there for a second.
Yeah, that was a non-credit one. Yeah, so if this was checked, anytime they put an F in, they are forced to put a last date of attendance in place.
I'll go through
Okay.
the fields.
I'm sorry?
No, I was telling Matthew, I'd go through the fields right now in production, go ahead and populate those. That should be.
Thank you very much for pointing that out to us. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Are you looking for a way to require reporting of no-shows?
That would be beautiful. I think, maybe.
It all depends.
Yeah, faculty drop roster can do that for you.
If they submit it.
Yeah, that's the trick right there. If they submit it. What's the term code? I'm guessing. Okay, I got lucky.
031.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it looks like you've got this. So a lot of times what I'll see schools do is they will have a standard status code that's like drop instructor, which is what you got here. And then they'll also have a separate no-show status code so that they know, and they do the same thing. The STD, RSTS configurations are identical. But what it does is it allows them to know that this student was no-showed, and then financial aid can look at it and, you know, work off of it however they need to. So some schools do it that way.
Well, the rest, the DIs are only pre-census. Those are all DIs are pre-census drops. Everything else is a WC afterwards. So it's not a matter of any change of the student type or clarification. Anything that's a DI is basically a no-show.
Yeah, I see that now. Your W grade roster doesn't allow that, the submission of one. But you really will just need them to submit it before census, right? That's
Yes.
the main thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
see,
that-
for us, there really is a difference. We just have never been able to account for it. But technically, if a student attends just one day, they're entitled to a portion of their aid, and I have no way to document it. So we send everything back.
Even if it's prior to census?
Yes,
Interesting to know. Thank you.
yes,
Did not know that.
yes. But there's no way for us to count for it because the system acts like they were never here,
Okay.
right?
So
Yeah, I've worked with one school that used two different codes for that exact purpose. One of them was the no-show, and then one of them was the code itself was NF, and it stood for attended first day, but no others. That's the only time I've ever seen anybody do that. So I don't know if that's, you know, a good practice, but it seemed to work well for them.
we can discuss this more, Lisa. If, maybe there's something that we can build then.
Yeah, it's never been flagged, but it could be an auditable issue, right? It's just that the reason it hasn't been flagged is because there's no record of a student ever attending anywhere, right? I think that's why it's never been. But technically, a student, you know, attends a few days. It starts from day one. We just don't account for it.
And I've seen some schools use, I'm not sure if you use like Argos or anything like that, but I've seen some schools use BCM to basically badger. You may already have something set up that automatically badgers faculty about getting the submission in, and it goes and it looks at, there's a view that tells you what dates, these rosters are due and stuff. And it's the same thing that you see in SFI, SECH, and they'll just schedule the thing to run, every day. And then as soon as something's due, and if it hasn't been submitted, where am I at? Took me to a weird place. Okay. As long as it hasn't been submitted, it'll just keep sending them an email.
We do have Argos.
And you can do the same thing with Argos.
So does this send them an email?
So, in Argos, you can set things up to send emails. Of course, I picked a good one. Okay. But I'm normally doing this in BCM. And so what you do is you schedule the BCM campaign or Argos report to run every day. And then it's looking to see when the roster opens and when it closes. And then it's looking to see if it's been submitted. And if it hasn't been submitted, it just keeps on shooting emails out until it's overdue. So it's a good way to, at least try to communicate to get compliance with the roster submission. And what's cool about Drop Roster is they don't have to take any action on any students to submit. They can, even if none of them are no-shows, they still are required to go in and hit submit to confirm, yes, everybody here attended. All they do is hit submit. They don't change any actions, and then it will still record the submission here so you can find it.
Jacob, can we disable this for specific CRNs?
You can. Yeah. You mean like disable the whole Drop Roster?
No, just the notification part.
Oh, you'd have to code. You'd have to figure some way to code it in there to say exclude these from the communication. So I don't know if there's like a specific attendance method you might not want to, be sending this to, or maybe a level code. If it's non-credit, maybe you don't want to send it to them. I don't know what the specifics would be, but as long as you can code it in BCM, you just edit the query and exclude them in your SQL.
My next email, Matthew.
Don't even need to send it. I've started working on it already.
Cool.
Cool. All right. So yeah, that's faculty grade entry. Drop roster, I don't, what class was I assigned to? I'm going to extend the dates. 2023. All right, so SSA, ACCO. Fall 2022-10? No? 2021?
2022-10. But your CRN needs to change.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I got the right CRN. Yeah, I got the right CRN. Okay. Huh. No section override. I hope this is part of term 1. Wrong one. Okay, so then let's just pretend this is 12-7. Where did you go? Twelve, 7. Probably should have just put myself in a, yeah. Should just put myself in a spring class. WC. Wonder what I've got wrong here. Do I got this turned on? Y'all use the baseline, right? It's enabled. I'm looking at the wrong term. Well, I don't know what I've got set up wrong here, but I should be able to see some drop roster sections.
Try reloading the page from another link.
That's a good idea.
Take a look at the dates that are, might it be something in SFA RORL?
Yeah, I would have expected it to still give me like a
031.
031. A expired, like if it was active, it should give me an expired, it should say the rosters are expired down below.
It's limited to the number. So right there where it says 0 on the W grade, I guess,
Uh-huh.
just change that to 25. There you go. That's good. 30 is good.
Okay.
I'll try it.
Well, I have to maybe troubleshoot that. It really should be working. I mean, I'm assigned to that CRN. Seven. Let me just try this. That should be working. No. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. I've got a note to circle back and look at it. I thought for sure I had looked at that one already and it was working, but taking a look at that. Something odd's going on there. All right, I'll figure that out and let you know once I do, Jeff.
Okay.
All right, and so then there was the advising student profile. And so, we looked at the profile earlier as a student, and this is how an advisor would go look for a student to view the student's profile. And so there's a couple things. I don't know if you do advisor assignments in Scadaver, but if you do, then you can just click this button and this will pull everybody up that you're assigned to in Scadaver. If you don't use it, you can go in and search. Let me just look for myself. Okay. And then you can view this student's profile. So now I'm looking at this page as an advisor. That's one of my favorite forms to pronounce. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that they can go in, they can view their advisee listing, and they can email their whole, everybody that's assigned to them as an advisee.
Hey, Jacob, so as you're sitting here on this profile, is there a way to see what a role you are?
Yeah, that's actually what I was just looking for.
Oh.
I'm used to seeing persona here, but that may have just been in registration. That's why I was clicking up there because I'm used to seeing it tell me I'm an advisor. Let me see here. I'm going to take a look and just confirm. It's thinking. Okay, so I'm going to go in as let me just come in as an advisor Yeah, so in registration, you can see you're an advisor, but apparently in student you can't, which,
Huh.
you know, I don't know why not, but yeah. So if you're in registration, you can, but the other piece is not so much.
Okay.
I guess you can tell because you've got the advisee search here, you know, you can tell, but that, you know, I guess that'd be the only way you'd really know just from looking at it. But yeah, so this, you know, I'm looking at myself, so it makes it even more confusing. We're sort of in an inception type of deal here, but if I was looking at somebody else, you know, I'd see their information, and then this is where, you know, the different role configurations in Google Comp can be done to turn things on and off and such. Okay, so anything else with faculty? We'll get over to financial aid then.
Yeah, I think we hit on all the menu items there, right? On the faculty.
Yep, those are all the ones that I
Got it.
included.
Okay, good.
There's a bunch, you know, there's a bunch more that come delivered, like attendance tracking and stuff like that. But I don't know if you're, you know, if you're going to be looking at using any of that.
Well, I think off the bat is to just kind of match what we're currently using. Just
Yeah,
to get that going first.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me get this link to financial aid real quick. We'll take a look at it. I don't know if I've got any financial aid record or not, but I think I did set myself up with something. Okay, get this thing right. It says in student. I need to go to student. Get this out. And then, yeah. Okay. So what little I know about financial aid, I know just enough to get this thing to turn on. I went into, I think, Roarman or wherever you build a budget. And I went in there and built one just so I could actually access this page. If I didn't have a financial aid record, just like in 8, you know, I wouldn't have access to view any of the financial aid deals. But this is what it, you know, what it looks like. And I really like the way it looks. You can go through, look at any of your offer, your current offers, or here's the cost of the budget I built. And that's the depth of my knowledge on financial aid right there. I'll add this link in so that you can get to it if you want to kind of just access it and see what it's all about. This was one student. One more time. Okay. All right. So now we've got this financial aid link here at the bottom, so you can, you know, as you go into that landing page, you can go take a look, see what it looks like. A lot of schools have asked me in the past when we're looking at 9 if there's a way for like financial aid counselors to go into this page and look at a page 4 student. And I've asked some of the financial aid consultants that question, and the answer I've gotten back was no. So I want to pass that along to you.
I was thinking, huh?
That it is. Looks like it's stuck. There you go. Well, at least it stopped thinking. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Yeah, I don't know. Was working. That was the same link. Well, at least we were able to get to it a moment ago. Something's odd. So yeah, that's self-service 9.
Yep.
Student and faculty and registration. Any
Well,
any thoughts?
yeah, I guess everybody can see that there's still a fair amount of work to do. Getting it into shape and testing it. But, yep. Well, thank you, Jacob.
Absolutely.
It just looks clunky.
It is.
Yeah.
It definitely is. You know, I think the faculty piece is the easiest one to roll out. Then some of the student self-service stuff, like, you know, viewing their unofficial transcript, viewing their grades, you know, all of that, and then registration.
All right. Well, what
Anything else you'd like me to do, Jeff?
Well, the two of us can talk offline, but I'd like to, once we get this matured, is to move some of this into production side, some of the configurations.
Okay.
Yeah, trying to figure out best how to figure out the overall schema of things. I just wish. Yeah, there's a. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can put your, you know, name it here, then you put, you know, whatever your primary color, secondary color, and then you upload your logo, and then it'll automatically like style all the self-service pages with that. And then each one of the individual modules themselves have their own CSS files, and these are enormous. They're the whole module. It is not. Yep. So, and you know, every upgrade, you know, well, not every upgrade, but you know, you have to watch out for it because they'll add some, you know, some new style sheet stuff in a new upgrade. And so like you have to make sure if you are using a custom SCSS file that you point your Google Conf setting, you know, to whatever the name of the custom theme is, the custom style sheet is. So like each one of these has a way where you can build your own style sheet, upload it, and then point it to that one. And so it's under the configuration. It's under theme. Yeah. So here.
So that would bring up the same style sheet every time, I guess, or.
Yeah, if you wanted to build a custom one, let's say you wanted to add some stuff to, you know, some text to the top of the page or something, you know, you
Right. Right. Yep.
What's the targeted rollout date for us here on campus?
We don't have one yet. Because we have to wait till we get it, make sure it's as bulletproof as we can get it in a production.
I'm thinking maybe a presentation to Academic Senate or our subgroup, our technology subgroup.
Not yet. Not yet.
Well, I'm saying when it's ready so that
Yeah.
they get prepped to do it so that, you know, I know they've been talking about these wait lists and some of what Jacob mentioned, I think is some of their issues. So I think it's perfect timing, but just kind of letting them know we're working on it. It's just going to take a little bit longer.
Well, the wait list is a separate subject than the Banner 9 self-service. Are you talking about the modification of the wait list?
The census rosters,
The
right?
census, the census
what he was showing us, and then what David was saying, yay, that we can send him reminders.
Oh, that part.
That
Yeah.
part would be good.
Yeah, that part we can do in Banner 8. Right now we can do that.
Oh, okay.
Is that right, Jacob? That's right.
Yep, 100%.
Okay. Yeah, so that doesn't wait. So that's not
Oh,
something that
perfect.
waits for Banner 9 self-service. But yeah, with the Banner 9 self-service, a lot of schools, and including us, are really struggling with how to navigate Banner 9 self-service.
Mm-hmm.
And the navigation part, besides all the testing and everything we need to do to get it mature, is a piece that's still unsettled as to how we roll out some of these pieces. And we have to test all that navigation between, and this is where we don't have a web person, really. So there's some labor challenges there. So, but yeah, that's why we started looking at the faculty and just the student module application. And like Jacob said, some of the faculty stuff, try to decide if we can roll some of that out. But of course we have to go through and test it really well to make sure it's ready.
Yeah, and
So
there's a defect with drop roster you want to look out for too. I think we had talked about it before, but you know, the display date's the wrong date. The end date, yeah. It'll say that it's available. Like let's pretend that the end date is 12/7, and I'd go on there today, and it would say 12/7. So I would think, yeah, I can submit it tomorrow. Because today's the 6th. I go in tomorrow on the 7th, and I can't.
It expires on that date. Yeah, no, this is something that's been going on for a while. So basically, you have up until 11:59, the December 6th, to submit something by the 7th.
Yep. Which is not the way that 8, where 8 will let you submit it the day it says it expires, which is, you know, what makes sense and what 9 should do, but they don't have it corrected. So that would be one I would hold off on. Faculty grade entry, you know, you do have that issue where it doesn't enforce the maximum hours that can be submitted for hours attempted. That can cause some problems. So that's another thing to look out for.
So it sounds like we're going to be staying in close touch, Jacob.
That sounds good. That's good news to me.
Okay, good. Yeah, so once we get, because right now this is all in test, and we need to roll some of these pieces over to production and test out the navigation and some other areas of it. So I guess a big takeaway is not just a upgrade; it's a re-implementation of banner self-service.
Yep.
So now, do we have one of those? I don't know if we do.
Yeah, we've got a few of them that have been doing it for a lot longer than I have.
Okay. Yep, we'll need to tap into one of those.
Yeah, we got, you really can't go wrong with any of those. They've all been doing it a long time.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
One last question, Jacob. You went. You aren't originally from Boston, are you? I mean, your accent really gives it away.
It's actually England, English. No, I'm from Alabama. I live in Oregon. I've been in Oregon for a little over 3 years now, but I'm from Alabama.
I'm a Texan in California. I hear you. I'm just.
Yep. Sometimes that accent will never go away. I think it's getting worse as the years go on.
Yeah, David is my Texas cohort.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
But, all right. Well, thank you, Jacob.
Yep. Thank y'all. Enjoyed meeting with you, and let me know if I can help out in any other way, Jeff.
Oh yeah, I definitely will. Definitely will. Thank you.
All right. Nice to meet you.
Okay.
All right.